I'm gonna walk you through the second lesson of Wunderkeys Preschool Book 1. And this will give you a good basis on how you can practice at home with your child. I usually use these assignment sheets, so if you have one at home, you can follow along at home, and I'll explain what each of these things means so that it's easy for you to figure out. Now each lesson in the book is structured the same way, so once you do this once or twice, it's really easy and it doesn't need much explanation. The other great thing about these books is that all the instructions are written as text in the book. That's the way they designed it, because they knew a grown-up would be reading it for a very small child who probably couldn't read themselves. So the lesson I'm going to take you through is called Disco Dancing. It's lesson number 2. The numbers are always down here on the bottom. And no, there's no page numbers in these books. It's a little wacky that way. You're welcome to add your own if that makes sense. So every lesson always starts with a rhythm rhyme, and this does a couple things. First, it gets kids listening, and it gets them performing. It also practices steady beat and practices rhythmic concepts that they're going to use later. It also sets up the story. So the story for this lesson is that our 5 friends are going to be each taking a dance in the spotlight. So what your job to do is you read through the text, and then when you get to the rhythm here, you clap and say that at the same time. So it would go like this: disco dance. And each of those are the same length of sound because we have quarter notes there. If you can't read these symbols, that's okay. Just make sure you're looking in the book for some of the answers, or ask me if you're not sure. Eventually there's different rhythms that are used in these longer and shorter sounds. So after you speak the rhythm, the child speaks it back. It's important that you don't let them speak it with you and clap it with you, even if they think they know it. The idea here is they listen and then they have a turn. And this really gives you a chance to hear, how are they able to process what you're doing? Are they echoing it back exactly? Are they going disco dancing really fast? Or are they forgetting some of the words? Try to get them to speak the words. Some kids are hesitant with that. So you go through each set of these, and that's all that one is. So on the assignment sheet, this is what they look like. I always put the week at the first and the reminders, and then of course this is lesson 2, disco dancing. And then over here's the rhythm rhyme. Now each of these boxes are just made for you to put a little check mark in. Generally I ask for 3 practices a week, but honestly, as many times as you can get to it. If you get to half of the lesson one day and the other half another day, and that's all you get to, that's good. It's just the repetition is really necessary at this age. So just putting check marks here in these boxes is all you need. The activity page is next. If you turn the page to the second page in every lesson, it is always the activity page. The one for disco dancing looks like this, and they usually label the boxes. There's usually some text up here to just help continue the story, and then they label the boxes with A, B, and eventually ABC. And these are just little games that get your child listening and moving and isolating and practicing these small little concepts that eventually they're going to use in the duet in a moment. So here it says, "I just love music. It makes me want to dance," giggled Ringo. "Let's turn it up loud and have a dance party." So once again, all this text is written for a grown-up to read through it. So you can say, in the first lesson, we learned that the fingers on your hands were named for the Wunderkeys. Can you remember your finger names? So this is the first game. You're just practicing those finger names. Now, this is sometimes a lot for anyone. So just to remind you, thumbs are always Thumbelina. Pointers are always Pointer Panda. Middletons are always Middleton Mouse. He lives in the middle of your hand. Ringo is naughty and fast, and he doesn't listen sometimes. He causes trouble. Ringo Raccoon is right here. And then your last one is Pinky Pig. Pinky is the baby. He's the smallest. That's how I explain it to the little ones, at least. Helps them remember something. So anyway, you go through each of these. The second activity on the page is usually something to help get them visually thinking. So thinking as far as like how does the notation instruct me what to do, and get them thinking like right now it's one-to-one visualization. So if you see one picture, you make one sound. In the next lesson, lesson 3, you know, there's 2 pictures, so it's 2 sounds. So that's as simple as it is right now. Now with the duet, which is the very next thing, your instructions are up here. They tell you in the instructions which hand should play. Usually it does say which one. It's usually not either or, because you're going to be doing something different. And then it tells you where to put your hand. Right now, you're using your left hand matching Wunderbee finger. So they don't tell you which one. They say you just got to look and see. And it says you can point to you play one sound on any white key with your left hand Wunderbee finger. When it comes to the games that come later and this duet, these instructions make it sound so difficult, but it's really not. You can simplify, as long as you know what you should be practicing in each game, you can simplify these games and duets as much as you need to. You certainly don't need to sit here and read through all this if you don't want. Now, I don't expect grown-ups to be able to play this. So this is where I come in. I always send a video link from YouTube to me playing this duet and then giving some short, simple instructions so that the kids can play along with me at your house. So feel free to just find the link, press play, and hopefully that's all set up. Now you can do this without me. You can just practice the student part first. You can say, okay, where's Thumbelina? And just start isolating those fingers and playing with one finger on the piano. That's a good way to start these. And then when you feel like they're ready and they understand the concept you're practicing, go ahead and start the duet. Okay, almost done. We have a math page with every single lesson. And this math page, since it's the second lesson, you start by practicing number 2. And these are often super simple, but still gets you practicing concepts that they need to do because these are in the music notation. So counting to 2, counting to 3, differentiating patterns. So there's a pattern here at the bottom. Of course, your instructions are here, but long story short, count the balloons, 1, 2, find 2, circle it. Oh, that's not 2, don't circle it. 2, circle, not 2, don't circle. And then, of course, figure out what comes last in the pattern. And the way that I do these is that I say, okay, this is called a disco ball, and these are balloons. So let's say the words of the pattern until we get to the end. And usually by the end of the pattern, if a kid really understands how patterns work, they're gonna know it automatically. If they don't flip out. Just kind of refer back to what happened, like what came after disco ball earlier in the pattern. Oh, there's a disco ball. What's after it? The balloon. So balloon comes after. Each lesson actually uses a game in the book. And in this book, Preschool Book 1, the games are, they're not card games yet. They are board games where you get a paper. The instructions are inconveniently on the back. And they're only, even though you would play them many, many times, there's only a new game for every other lesson. So in this book, you get a game with lesson 1, lesson 3, lesson 5. So I'm going to show you the game from the first lesson, which I would play for both lesson 1 and lesson 2. So this is your game board, and all the instructions are on, well, it's the back, I think, in the book, but mine printed differently. So these are tough to understand a lot of times. Feel free to read through them, but even I have problems sometimes, like trying, no, wait, you want me to do this? Why am I doing that? And sometimes, like I said, you just have to remember what the concept is that you're practicing and just make sure, just keep that as your focus. It's okay if you don't have so many coins on the side or you know, follow every single little rule. The idea is just practicing the concept that they include there. So I'll just quickly run you through this. How I do this is I get those little rocks that are flat on the bottom. These are like decorating rocks that you put in a vase or something. $1 for like a bag of 200 at the dollar store. And I put them on top of each of our Wunderbee friends. And then I say, okay, our Wunderbee friends are coming home from school from the day. Here's their mommies and daddies. And we have to figure out who they're gonna come home to. So if I point to this mommy or daddy, can you find who goes with them? And this gets complicated because we're layering things on top of it. You take that finger and then move that rock to that mommy and daddy. So you're taking Thumbelina back to her mommy. And then, you know, you can do it a second time with the left hand, or whatever you want to do. Sometimes I put them back on the bus again. So that's how we do that. It's just reinforcing the idea that these are each characters, remembering what they look like and what their names are. And then, so making sure when they play this game, because usually, you know, you get to Ringo and you're like, well, I don't want to use my Ringo. That's weird. I just want to use my pointer or my thumb like I did before. So constantly reinforcing the isolation of certain fingers. Now that was a way longer explanation than I wanted to do, but I hope it helped you. As I said before, I know this is a little overwhelming to begin with, but it doesn't have to be this way. As I said earlier, each lesson uses the same format every single lesson, and honestly, even once you get to book 2 and book 3, it's very similar. So once you get the idea of, okay, this is how this should flow, this is how this should flow, or even if you just want to pick and choose what you want to work on at home, that's okay. But when we get to new concepts that your child hasn't worked on yet, it can be very challenging if they don't have the repetition between their piano lessons. So don't get frustrated. Ask me for help if you need it. I will help you at any point. I can whip up a quick little instructional video if you'd like one. Sometimes